Hello guys, thanks for tuning in. In the spirit of the season, today we're keeping it spooky. We'll be talking ghosts, more especially Force ghosts of the dark side persuasion. Now, one thing about Force ghosts, this is largely a Jedi ability. It is achieved through letting go and surrendering to oneself to the Force, which, as we all know, the dark side isn't big on. For a dark side user, the notion of death is one of the most scary concepts, because after amassing all that power, spending your life clawing the victories, the deceit, and to have it all taken away and turned to nothing, that's a Sith Lord's greatest fear. And that's what causes them to be the furthest thing from a Jedi Force ghost as possible. But as we know one thing about dark side users, they are a stubborn lot. So in light of this, many Sith have looked for ways to prolong their life, extend their life, and through these many processes, some actually have succeeded. But the Force ghosts created by the dark side aren't as perfect as that of the Jedi. They are bound to an object. Some are bound to constant pain, confusion. Some lose all notion of self. It's a really crappy thing to be a dark side Force ghost, and these are the various examples of dark side Force ghosts that are notable throughout Star Wars lore. Now, the first dark side ghost we're gonna look into belongs to none other than the first Dark Lord of the Sith, Ajunta Pal. Ajunta Pal was a Jedi Master who, as the old story goes, wasn't buying what the Jedi Council was selling anymore, so he opted out, starting the Second Great Schism. And after his side was defeated, the Jedi Council didn't kill him and his allies. Rather, they Spartan kicked him out of Republic space, where he went on to Sith space, defeated the then king of Korriban, Hagagram Grash, and set up his own Sith empire as the first Dark Lord of the Sith. But as time passed, Ajunta Pal eventually died, though after his death, because of his extensive knowledge of alchemy, he bound his soul to the material world, but lingered in his tomb for 1,000 years in the Valley of the Dark Lords. In that time, he could view the actions of the Sith and saw that they fell constantly to their own devices and betrayal, and started to have regrets. Ajunta Pal regretted his life choices and fell into great despair, wandering in his tomb, until the time where Revan found Ajunta Pal's wandering spirit and was able to get Ajunta Pal to forgive his own actions and let go of the dark and turn back into the light and became one with the Force.
Return? But I betrayed my old masters. They would never let me return to the light side. It is too late. Too late. Oh, my master, it has been so long, and I regret so much.
Apart from the mind-numbing solitude, the centuries of anguish, things worked out pretty dandy in the end for Ajunta Pal. But this second guy wasn't so lucky. I believe a good portion of us know about the Grand Inquisitor. But in his own words,
there are some things far more frightening than death.
and boy, after what happened, I'll take his word on that one, cause the way I speculate he was brought back to life, if he even died, like maybe in the Kenobi series. The Grand Inquisitor, after his fight on Tarkin's Star Destroyer with Kanan Jarrus, when he uttered the phrase that there are worse things than death, I think knowing the capabilities of his two Dark Lord masters, he was brought back by rituals performed by Darth Vader. This was done to him by Darth Vader as much as it was a move of strategy to trap Jedi. It was also inflicted upon him as a punishment, and was accomplished through various Sith techniques and rituals, which made it possible to trap him in this ghostly form, as we all know.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
The Grand Inquisitor existed on this Jedi outpost as a vengeful specter. Engulfed in the flames of the collapsed hyperdrive, he slew many Jedi who came to the outpost. In one instance, when he ran into Luke Skywalker as Luke was seeking a new lightsaber to replace the one he lost in Empire, they had a fierce battle of which the Grand Inquisitor had the upper hand until he lost his hand and Luke cut him in two. But when he reappeared, because he could not die, asking if Darth Vader would end his torment, Darth Vader was cold and told him his torment would not end. And the Grand Inquisitor repeated the line, "There are worse things than death." Firstly, to begin with, the tale of Freedon Nad, or Exar Kun, are very Anakin-like in nature. You find a very gifted Force user of the light side who, in his great power and brilliance and how he excelled in his knowledge of the Force, bred a type of arrogance. And with this, it was easy for them to fall to the dark side, as they were especially in Nad's case, where he was frustrated with the Jedi Order, as was Anakin. Due to this frustration, Freedon Nad fell to the dark, and it was cemented when he killed his master after trying to prove himself worthy. He fled Ulsis and became a student of the Dark Lord Naga Sadow, and after learning all he could from Sadow, he killed his master and became Dark Lord of the Sith. He ruled over the planet Alderaan with an iron fist, and when the Jedi found out about his rule, they quickly exterminated him. But due to his extensive knowledge of Sith sorcery, he was able to maintain his existence by becoming a dark side ghost. But among the dark side entities, his Force Ghost was the most free-roaming, as he played a pivotal role into the fall of the Dark Lord Exar Kun. And like I pointed out earlier, Exar Kun was also a Jedi prodigy, and like Freedon Nad, his abilities made him grow proud. He thought himself better than the non-human Jedi, and he became proud and arrogant. His curiosity with the dark side is what led his fall, and when he ultimately turned to the dark side, thanks in large part to Freedon Nad's influence. But just like what Freedon Nad did to Naga Sadow, Exar Kun also destroyed the spirit of Freedon Nad and became the undisputed Dark Lord of the Sith. But due to his great machinations and attacks on the Republic and Jedi, he was ultimately cornered by the Jedi, and he destroyed himself through his Sith rituals, which were a last-ditch effort to find immortality at his impending defeat. But it didn't go as he had planned, for he was turned into nothing more than a voice that haunted his temple on Yavin. For thousands of years, Exar Kun roamed his temple on Yavin, unable to interact with the physical beings, being driven ever mad by the solitude, the misery he had to endure in the cold silence. But eventually, after the rebels had used his temple as a base against the Empire, he had limited interactions with the physical beings there, but eventually he would possess and manipulate a student of Luke, turning him against his master. Even went to the point of putting Luke into a coma. Exar Kun almost nearly succeeded, but he was ultimately defeated by the combined efforts of Luke's new Jedi Order, and after 4,000 years, the terror of Exar Kun was ended. So, in conclusion, we can see by the various examples of dark side Force ghosts that the dark side gets the short end of the stick when it comes to this form of immortality. But anyways, guys, thanks for the view, and if you have any other examples, I'd like to hear from you in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.